Hello, welcome to Crankin' It. My name is Alex Van Gelder, and in this channel I'm going to be documenting my attempt at cycling the length of the Americas, from Prudhoe Bay, Alaska in the north, to Ushuaia, Tierra del Fuego in the south. Hopefully these videos will allow friends and families to follow along on my adventure, as well as anybody else who's interested in this kind of thing. I figured before I got started I would record a video answering some of the frequently asked questions that I get about my trip. If you have any questions about something that I didn't address in this video, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll get to it as soon as I can. It's a good question. For most people, cycling across the world sounds lonely and unpleasant, and it certainly can be. But for me, bicycle travel is the best way to travel. Whenever I travel by car, it feels like I'm in a bubble, isolated from the sun and the wind and the rain and the dirt. Whenever I travel without a bike, it feels like I'm being shoehorned into tourist-only areas like hotels or attractions. Being on the bike gives me the freedom to go where I want, when I want, and it also allows me to live much more frugally by not paying for transportation and accommodation, and by getting most of my food at grocery stores and cooking myself. It allows me to extend my trip for much longer than I normally would be able to travel. I've wanted to cycle the Americas for a long time. When I was 16, I did a Rotary student exchange in Chile. And while I lived there, I was really amazed by the beauty of the landscapes and the culture. But the real reason that I'm starting all the way up in Prudhoe Bay and not somewhere more sensible like Anchorage or Seattle where I live is because I can be a bit of a completionist. Just like the PCT in 2018. No skips, no flips. The route itself is about 20,000 miles. So if I average 50 miles a day, and then take a week of rest every 3 weeks of cranking it, it should take around 550 days. However, the more important consideration when planning my itinerary is the seasons. Since I'm starting up in Prudhoe Bay, which is far north of the Arctic Circle, I want to start in the summer. My destination is in the southern tip of Patagonia, so I want to finish in the summer as well. And that means, since the seasons are flipped in the southern hemisphere, the entire journey should take about a year and a half. For the most part, yes. I have invited some friends to join me along the way for certain sections, so we'll see if any of them are able to. My dad will be joining me for the first section, from Prudhoe Bay down to Fairbanks. It's also a very popular route among cyclists, so I expect to meet other people doing the same thing that I'm doing. Who knows, maybe we'll ride together for a bit. Not really. I've gone on several bike tours. My longest one was about a month and a half in Europe in 2016. My dad actually joined me on that one. I've also hiked the Pacific Crest Trail in 2018 with my friend Michael. That took about 5 months. This ride will be orders of magnitude larger than anything I've done before. I'm not sure. People say trips like these can be life-changing, so who knows what my life will be like when I get done. I could always go back to doing what I did before, which is renting a room in Seattle while freelancing as a motion graphics animator, or I might do something completely different. Who knows? I've been saving for this for a long time. I also have a lot of very supportive family members, especially my dad, who's not only ridden with me for thousands of miles on other tours, he also got me the dynamo hub on my front wheel and a custom frame for my bike build. I also want to start a Patreon. I've never really used Patreon before or been a YouTuber, so this will definitely be a learning experience. For years, I've been touring on this Nashbar road bike, and it served me well for thousands of miles along the paved routes of Europe and North America. However, a couple years ago, I attempted to take it on the Great Divide mountain biking route, and it didn't do so good. For this trip, I definitely want to be able to go to backcountry routes and dirt roads, and so I realized I needed a new bike. I also wanted to learn bike maintenance inside and out, so I decided to build my own bike. I had never built a bike before, so with a lot of help from community organizations such as Bikeworks and the Bikery in Seattle, as well as my friend Graham, this is what I came up with. I can go into detail in another video if there's interest, but suffice it to say, it's 26-inch wheels with 2.35-inch tires. It's got steel custom frame, a dynamo hub for generating power on the front wheel, and Jones handlebars. Más o menos. Yo aprendí español en el colegio y también en Chile, cuando estaba ahí por un intercambio estudiantil en el año 2006 y 2007. Pero no he tenido que usar mucho español desde que volví a los Estados Unidos. Así que yo he olvidado mucho. Mi vocabulario está muy limitado, pero creo que recuerdo mucho de la gramática. I try to camp out as much as possible to save both money and time. It can also be fun, finding new places to camp each night, usually by the side of the road in some woods or something. Sometimes I'll stay at campsites to take advantage of the amenities. Once I get to Latin America, this might be a little more difficult because it's so densely populated. When I get there, I guess I'll figure something out. I know churches and fire stations sometimes let cyclists stay in their yards overnight. There's also an app called Warm Showers, which is kind of like couch surfing but for cycle tourists, so hopefully I can use that to find some hosts. To start out, I'll pretty much eat what I normally eat on long-distance bicycle tours and hikes, which is basically nuts, dried fruit, and chocolate. And then for dinner, I'll have these instant dinners like Knorr pasta sides or mashed potatoes. Once I get to Mexico, I'm not really sure what will be available, but I'm sure I'll figure something out. I'm also a vegetarian, so that adds another layer of complexity. A little? I know Mexico and a lot of other Latino countries certainly have a reputation for crime related to drug trafficking, but I think the reputation might be a little bit overhyped in the US due to border politics. But there is real risk, and so as I travel, I will try to be cognizant of the risk in various places I go through and change my route depending on what I hear from the locals. It definitely helps that I can speak some Spanish.